My spoiled sister drained my parents' entire life savings. Then they expected me to fund her lifestyle forever. There is a specific kind of pain that comes from being the forgotten child. Not the one who causes trouble, not the one who demands attention, but the one who is simply overlooked. You learn early that your needs will always come second, that your accomplishments will be mentioned in passing, that your presence is assumed but never celebrated. You learn to be self-sufficient because no one is coming to save you. My name is Rachel. I am 36 years old. And for as long as I can remember, I have been the invisible daughter. My sister, Tiffany, is 34. She is blonde and beautiful and has never heard the word no in a way that stuck. From the time we were children, the difference in how my parents treated us was impossible to ignore. Tiffany wanted horseback riding lessons. She got them. I wanted a new backpack because mine had a hole. I was told to make do. Tiffany wanted a car for her 16th birthday. She got a brand new Honda. I wanted help with college applications. I was told to figure it out myself. Tiffany dropped out of 3 different colleges, each time with my parents' sympathy and financial support. I worked 2 jobs while maintaining a 3.9 GPA at a state school, and my parents showed up to exactly one of my 4 years of graduations. I told myself it didn't matter. I was independent. Self-sufficient. I didn't need their validation. But independence isn't the same as invisibility, and somewhere along the way, I stopped being able to tell the difference. My parents, Harold and Patricia, are good people. I believe that. They worked hard, provided a roof over our heads, and genuinely believed they loved us equally. But love isn't equal when one child consumes all the resources while the other is expected to fend for herself. I remember the Christmas when I was 15. Tiffany got a designer handbag, the kind that cost more than my mother's monthly salary. I got a sweater from the clearance rack at Kohl's. I thanked them politely, wore the sweater until it fell apart, and never said a word about the difference. That was my role. The grateful one. The one who didn't complain. The one who made do. I learned early that asking for help was pointless. When I needed money for school supplies, I babysat. When I needed a car, I saved for 2 years and bought a beat-up Corolla. When I needed emotional support after my first serious breakup, after I lost a job I loved, after a health scare that left me terrified, I didn't bother calling my parents. They were too busy with Tiffany's latest crisis. The crises were endless. Tiffany's boyfriends were always wrong for her, too controlling, too distant, too something. My parents paid for therapy, for moving expenses, for the deposits on apartments she'd leave when the relationship inevitably imploded. Tiffany's career aspirations shifted monthly. She wanted to be a fashion designer, so my parents paid for design school. She dropped out after a semester. She wanted to be a real estate agent, so they paid for her licensing exam. She never sold a single house. She wanted to find herself, so they funded a 6-month trip to Europe. I watched from the sidelines, biting my tongue, telling myself it was their money to spend. They worked for it. They could do whatever they wanted with it. But I couldn't ignore the question that nagged at me: what would happen when the money ran out? The answer came gradually, then all at once. My parents had always been comfortable, not wealthy, but secure. My father was an accountant, my mother a nurse. They'd saved diligently for retirement, invested wisely, and planned for a future that included travel and leisure and the kind of life they'd earned after decades of work. Then Tiffany discovered her true calling, living beyond her means. It started with small things. A new car, leased, not bought, because Tiffany needed to project success for her business ventures. A luxury apartment in a trendy neighborhood, my parents co-signed the lease and covered the first 3 months' rent. A wardrobe full of designer clothes, my mother's credit card, which Tiffany treated as her own. I tried to intervene once, gently. Mom, don't you think Tiffany should be supporting herself? She's 30 years old. Oh, honey, she's trying. It's just hard out there. You know how competitive everything is. She dropped out of 3 colleges. She's never held a job for more than 6 months. How long are you going to keep funding her lifestyle? My mother's face tightened. We're not funding her lifestyle. We're helping her get on her feet. She's been on her feet for 15 years, Mom. At some point, they're your feet, not hers. You don't understand. You've always been so independent. You don't need us the way she does. That was the phrase. You don't need us the way she does. The motto of every parent who confuses love with enabling. The justification for pouring endless resources into the child who demands while starving the child who doesn't ask. I stopped intervening after that. What was the point? They'd made their choice. They'd always made their choice. I focused on my own life. I built a career in marketing, climbing the corporate ladder with determination and grit. I saved diligently, invested wisely, and bought a small condo in a neighborhood I loved. I dated, fell in love, got my heart broken, and fell in love again. I built a life that didn't depend on my parents' approval or financial support. I was proud of that life. I still am. But I couldn't ignore the phone calls. The way my mother's voice grew more strained each time we spoke. The way my father's jokes about retirement stopped being funny. The market's been rough, my mother would say. Your father's thinking of working another few years. He's 68, Mom. He should be retired. Well, we want to make sure we have enough. Tiffany's going through a difficult time, and we want to be able to help her. Tiffany's going through a difficult time. Tiffany was always going through a difficult time. Tiffany's entire existence was a difficult time. I started doing the math. My parents' retirement savings had been substantial, nearly $1 million, from what I'd gathered over the years. But designer handbags, luxury apartments, and European vacations don't come cheap. Neither do the multiple loans that never got repaid. I asked my father once, directly, Dad, how much have you given Tiffany over the years? He wouldn't look at me. That's between your mother and me. I'm not asking to judge. I'm asking because I'm worried about you. We're fine. We don't need you to worry about us. But they weren't fine. I could see it in the way my father's hands shook when he wrote a check. In the way my mother's smile never quite reached her eyes. In the way they'd stopped talking about the future, about travel, about the retirement they'd spent decades planning. They were drowning. And Tiffany was standing on their shoulders, pushing them further under. The call came on a Tuesday. I was at work, in the middle of a presentation, when my phone buzzed with my mother's ringtone. I ignored it. She usually called to talk about Tiffany, and I didn't have the emotional bandwidth. She called again. And again. By the third call, I excused myself from the meeting and stepped into the hallway. Mom, what's wrong? It's your father. Her voice was shaking. He collapsed at work. They think it's his heart. The next hours were a blur. Driving to the hospital. Waiting in the sterile hallway while doctors ran tests. My mother clutching my hand, her nails digging into my skin. He's going to be okay, I said, not knowing if it was true. He's strong. He can't work anymore, my mother whispered. The doctor said he needs to retire. No stress. No long hours. His heart can't take it. Then he'll retire. That's what retirement is for. We can't afford for him to retire. The words hung in the air. We can't afford for him to retire. Two people who had worked their entire lives, who had saved diligently, who had done everything right, and they couldn't afford to stop working. Mom, what happened to your savings? She wouldn't look at me. Things were tight. We had to make some withdrawals. Withdrawals for what? A long pause. Then, Tiffany needed help. You know how it's been. I felt something inside me crack. Not break, I'd been broken too many times for that. But crack. Like ice under pressure, splintering in 1,000 directions. How much, Mom? A lot. How much? She named a number. Then another. Then another. The total was staggering, more than I'd imagined, more than I'd thought possible. My parents had given Tiffany nearly everything. Their retirement savings. Their emergency fund. The equity in their house, which they'd refinanced twice to free up cash. They were broke. Completely, utterly broke. And my father's heart had given out from the stress of trying to recover. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? I stayed at the hospital until my father was stable. I drove my mother home. I made sure she ate something, though I don't remember what. And then I drove to my condo, sat in the dark, and cried. Not for my parents. Not for Tiffany. For myself. For the years I'd spent being invisible, for the sacrifices I'd made alone, for the money I'd saved and the life I'd built while my parents poured everything into my sister's bottomless pit. I was angry. Not the hot, explosive anger of a sudden betrayal, the cold, quiet anger of someone who has been overlooked for decades and finally sees the full picture. My father recovered, but he couldn't return to work. His retirement started earlier than planned, with a fraction of the savings he'd intended. My mother went back to work full-time at 6 to 6, when she should have been enjoying her grandchildren. I helped where I could. I paid for some of my father's medical bills. I covered their property taxes one year when they couldn't make the payment. I bought groceries, filled their gas tanks, did the small things that kept them afloat. But I didn't empty my savings. I didn't co-sign any loans. I didn't set myself on fire to keep them warm. And I waited for the other shoe to drop. It dropped 3 months later. My mother invited me over for dinner, a rare occurrence, since she usually went to Tiffany's house to help with whatever crisis was unfolding. I accepted, curious and wary. I arrived at my parents' small rental house. They'd sold the family home after my father's heart attack, to find my mother in the kitchen, cooking my father's favorite meal. Tiffany was there too, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, looking bored. Rachel. So glad you could come. My mother kissed my cheek, her hands flowery. Thanks for inviting me. Tiffany didn't look up from her phone. Hey. Dinner was awkward. My parents made small talk, the neighbors, the weather, the latest health updates. Tiffany ignored everyone, texting constantly, occasionally laughing at something on her screen. After dinner, my mother cleared her throat. We wanted to talk to you about something. Both of you. I set down my fork. Okay. Your father and I have been doing a lot of thinking. About our finances, about our future, about what's going to happen when we're gone. My father nodded, his face serious. We're not getting any younger. And with my health, we need to make sure everything is taken care of. Okay, I said again. What did you have in mind? My mother took a breath. We want to revise our will. We want to make sure that the two of you are taken care of. Tiffany finally looked up from her phone. About time. But here's the thing, my mother continued. We don't have much left to leave. The savings are gone. The house is gone. All we have is a small life insurance policy and whatever we can put away in the next few years. So there's nothing. Tiffany's voice was sharp. All that money, and there's nothing left for me. We gave you a lot over the years, Tiffany. You know that. Yeah, for things I needed. That's different. I felt my jaw tighten. Things I needed. Designer handbags. Luxury apartments. European vacations. All things she needed. Which brings us to the other reason we wanted to talk, my mother said, turning to me. Rachel, you've done so well for yourself. You have the condo, the good job, the savings. We're so proud of you. Thanks, Mom. And we were hoping, that is, we thought maybe, you could help. Help how? My mother looked at my father. My father looked at the table. We want to make sure Tiffany is taken care of when we're gone. She doesn't have the same advantages you do. She's never been able to get on her feet the way you have. I waited. We thought maybe you could set up some kind of trust. Or give her a monthly allowance. Nothing extravagant, just enough to make sure she's okay. The room was very quiet. You want me to fund Tiffany's lifestyle after you're gone. We want you to help your sister. That's what family does. I looked at Tiffany. She was watching me now, her eyes calculating, waiting to see what I would do. Mom, I've worked for everything I have. Every dollar. Every promotion. Every late night and early morning. I didn't ask you for help because I knew you didn't have anything to give. And now you want me to give my hard-earned money to someone who's never worked a day in her life. Rachel. Tiffany has bled you dry. She's taken your retirement, your house, your peace of mind. And now that there's nothing left to take, you want her to start bleeding me. That's not fair. My mother's voice cracked. We're not asking for much. Just a little something to make sure she's safe. She's 34 years old. She's not a child. She can get a job, support herself, build her own life. Like I did. Tiffany stood up, her face flushed. You think you're so much better than me, don't you? With your fancy job and your fancy condo. You've always been jealous because Mom and Dad loved me more. The words landed like stones in still water. Tiffany, sit down, my father said. No. I'm tired of her acting like she's perfect. You know what, Rachel? You can keep your money. I don't need it. I'd rather be broke than owe you anything. She stormed out of the house. The door slammed. My mother started crying. I sat at the table, my hands folded in front of me, and thought about everything I'd just heard. You've always been jealous because Mom and Dad loved me more. Tiffany was wrong about a lot of things. But she wasn't wrong about that. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I said something else entirely. Mom, Dad, I love you. I appreciate everything you've done for me, even if it wasn't as much as you did for Tiffany. I've built a life I'm proud of, and I've done it on my own. They were both crying now. I kept my voice steady. But I'm not going to set up a trust for Tiffany. I'm not going to give her a monthly allowance. I'm not going to spend the rest of my life supporting someone who has never once tried to support herself. Rachel, please. Let me finish. I will help you. If you need groceries, I'll buy them. If your car breaks down, I'll pay for the repairs. If you have medical bills, I'll cover what insurance doesn't. But Tiffany is not my responsibility. She never has been. My mother's face crumpled. She's your sister. And I love her. But love isn't the same as enabling. You spent 34 years enabling her, and look where it got you. You're broke. Dad's health is ruined. And Tiffany still can't take care of herself. That's not. It is. And the kindest thing you can do for her, the kindest thing anyone can do for her, is to let her fail. Let her hit bottom. Let her figure out that the world doesn't owe her a living. My father spoke for the first time. She's not strong enough. Then she'll get stronger. Or she won't. But that's her choice. Not yours. Not mine. I stood up, pushed in my chair, and walked to the door. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because someone needs to say it. The money is gone. The safety net is gone. And Tiffany needs to learn to stand on her own. I left. The weeks after that conversation were tense. My mother called less often. When she did, her voice was cool, distant. My father didn't call at all. I heard through relatives that Tiffany was devastated by my refusal, that she told anyone who would listen that I was selfish, cold, and obsessed with money. I didn't defend myself. What was the point? The people who knew me knew the truth. The people who believed Tiffany's version weren't people I needed in my life. I focused on my own healing. I started seeing a therapist not because I was broken, but because I needed help untangling decades of family dynamics that had left me feeling invisible. You've spent your whole life being the responsible one, Dr. Park said during one session. The one who didn't need anything, so no one gave anything. But needs aren't weaknesses, Rachel. They're human. And you're allowed to have them. I don't know how to need. I've been taking care of myself for so long. That's the work. Learning to let people in. Learning to ask for help. Learning that you deserve support too. I thought about that a lot. You deserve support too. No one had ever told me that before. A few months after the dinner, I got a call from my mother. Rachel? Hi, Mom. A long pause. I've been thinking about what you said. About Tiffany. About enabling. Okay. I think you might be right. I waited. Your father and I have been talking. We've decided to stop giving Tiffany money. No more loans, no more bailouts, no more co-signed leases. She's on her own. I felt something shift in my chest. Not relief, it was too complicated for relief. But something. Recognition, maybe. Or hope. That's a big step, Mom. I know. She's furious. She's not speaking to us. I'm sorry. Don't be. You were right. We should have done this years ago. We talked for a while longer about my father's health, about their plans to downsize, about the small joys they were finally allowing themselves. It wasn't the conversation I'd dreamed of, there was no apology, no acknowledgement of the years of imbalance. But it was a beginning. And sometimes, a beginning is enough. Tiffany did not handle the cutoff well. Without my parents' money, her carefully constructed life began to crumble. The luxury apartment was surrendered. The leased car was returned. The designer wardrobe was sold on consignment. She moved in with a series of friends, then boyfriends, then acquaintances. Each living situation ended badly: drama, accusations, burnt bridges. She blamed everyone but herself. My parents were abandoning her. I was selfish. The world was unfair. I watched from a distance, sad but not surprised. A year after the cutoff, Tiffany hit bottom. The call came from a hospital. She'd been found in her apartment, dehydrated and malnourished, unable to pay her rent or buy food. My mother called me, crying. "Rachel, she has nothing. She's lost everything." "I know, Mom. Can you help? Just this once." I thought about it. The old Rachel, the invisible daughter, the responsible one, the fixer, would have written a check without hesitation. But I wasn't that person anymore. I'll pay for a therapist. I'll pay for a financial counselor. I'll help her find a job and a place to live that she can actually afford. But I won't give her cash. And I won't let her move in with me. My mother was quiet for a long time. That's generous, Rachel." "It's not generous. It's the line I've drawn." Tiffany accepted the help, grudgingly, with constant complaints about how unfair her life had been. But she accepted it. She started seeing a therapist, a kind woman who specialized in addiction, not substance addiction, but the addiction to being rescued. "I've never had to take care of myself," Tiffany admitted during one session that I attended as a family member. "Everyone always did everything for me." "That's not your fault," the therapist said. "But it is your responsibility to change it." Tiffany didn't change overnight. She still has bad days, weeks, sometimes. She still calls my mother complaining about how hard everything is. But she's working. A real job, retail, nothing glamorous, but steady. She's paying her own rent. She's learning to budget, to save, to live within her means. It's not the life she wanted. But it's a life she built. And that's something. It's been 3 years since the dinner that changed everything. My parents are doing well. My father's heart is stable, he's careful about stress, takes his medication, walks every day. My mother retired last year, and they've found a rhythm that suits them. They travel when they can, small trips, nothing extravagant, and they've learned to enjoy the simple pleasures they used to take for granted. We talk regularly now. Not about money, that subject is closed, but about life. About my job, my friends, the book I'm reading. About their garden, their neighbors, the new recipes my mother is trying. It's not the relationship I dreamed of as a child. But it's real. And for now, that's enough. Tiffany is still a work in progress. She's been promoted twice at her retail job, not to management, but to positions with more responsibility. She's dating someone new, a man who works in construction and doesn't have any money to speak of. I hope she's happy. I don't know if she is, we don't talk much. But she's standing on her own. And that's more than anyone expected. I've built my own family. Not the one I was born into, that one was too complicated, too painful, too full of expectations I couldn't meet. But a chosen family. Friends who see me, who value me, who show up when I need them. Marcus, my partner of 2 years, is part of that family. He's steady and kind, with a laugh that makes me forget my worries. He doesn't need me to save him, and he doesn't expect me to save anyone else. He just wants to be with me. Is this weird? I asked him once. Being with someone who has so much family baggage? Everyone has baggage, he said. The question is whether you're willing to carry it together. I was. I am. The question that started all this, was I wrong to refuse to support my sister? I've answered it 100 times. Here's what I've decided. No. I wasn't wrong. My parents made their choices. They poured everything into Tiffany and expected me to pick up the pieces when they had nothing left. But I am not their retirement plan. I am not Tiffany's safety net. I am my own person, with my own life, my own needs, my own limits. I helped where I could. I paid for my father's medical bills. I covered my mother's property taxes. I offered therapy and counseling and practical support. But I did not empty my savings. I did not co-sign any loans. I did not set myself on fire to keep my sister warm. That's not selfish. That's survival. I think about the invisible girl I used to be, the one who made do, who didn't complain, who learned to need nothing because no one was coming to help. She's still part of me. But she's not all of me anymore. I've learned to ask for help. To let people in. To believe that I deserve support too. It's hard. Every day, it's hard. But I'm getting better. My mother called me last week. Not to ask for anything, just to talk. She told me about a conversation she'd had with her own therapist, about the guilt she carries for the way she raised us. I thought I was being fair, she said. I thought giving Tiffany more was okay because she needed more. But I never asked what you needed. I never even thought about it. You're thinking about it now. I am. And I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm so sorry. I didn't say it's okay. Because it wasn't. The years of invisibility had left scars that wouldn't heal overnight. But I said thank you. And I meant it. Acknowledgement isn't forgiveness. But it's a start. Today, I'm writing this from the porch of the house Marcus and I bought last year. It's small, not the kind of house my parents had, not the kind of house Tiffany dreamed of, but it's ours. There's a garden in the back, a workshop for Marcus's woodworking, and a sunroom where I drink my coffee on weekend mornings. My parents came to visit last month. They brought a casserole and a bottle of wine and stayed for the whole afternoon. We sat on this porch, talked about nothing important, and watched the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. My mother held my hand. My father told me he was proud of me. No one asked for money. No one mentioned Tiffany. It wasn't the reunion I'd imagined as a child, the one where my parents finally saw me, finally appreciated me, finally put me first. But it was something. A small step toward healing. Tiffany is doing okay. She's still working retail, still living paycheck to paycheck, still struggling with the reality that the world doesn't owe her a living. But she's stopped blaming me. She's stopped asking for handouts. She's even started apologizing, small, awkward apologies that don't quite land but are offered nonetheless. I was a brat, she said once, over the phone. The words rushed like she was afraid she'd lose her nerve. I know that. I'm sorry. I know, I said. I forgive you. And I did. Not because she deserved it, but because I deserved to let go of the anger. The door my parents opened wasn't just an exit from their financial chaos. It was an entrance to my own life. I walked through. And on the other side, I found myself. That's it for today's stories. If you want to see more of the best threads Reddit has to offer, make Reddit Be Mine a part of your daily routine. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss a heartbeat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next thread.